Good morning, good afternoon. Appreciate each and every single one of you spending a few minutes with us today. We are really excited about today's session. We are going to be doing a deep dive into Google pay-per-click ads as well as local service ads. For some of you, local LSAs or Google Guaranteed, this may be the first time that you've actually heard of that. With that said, we will go ahead and get started. And also just a big thanks to my team for helping to put this together. As my team knows, I'll share a quick little insight. This is like clockwork. Every single time when it's webinar day, the team knows that it's webinar day because I'm pacing. And for those of you that have been in some of my live sessions, live in person at various industry events, that's just my nervous energy. But once the lights come on, we're in good shape. Okay. With that said, I'm just going to really quickly just share a little bit about us. For those of you that aren't familiar with us, we're proud members of many of our associations. Biggest associations. What I will say is, if you're not members of your local and your local state and or national associations, please give it a try. If you have any questions about any of them, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to share some information. I'd be happy to share some information with you about that. In terms of like who we are and how we help, and I'll be really brief about this. We are a marketing agency. We only work with out-of-security companies. And the way that we do is predominantly digital marketing. I won't read this. You can read quicker than I can. But these are at a high level things that we do. But what's unique about us is it's all about the current level of success. It is all about the power of the network and the value that we deliver, because we're deeply entrenched in this great industry, the security industry and fire and life safety industry. We deliver a lot of value beyond marketing. In terms of the groups that we work with, it's the entire ecosystem. We work with the vendors that support the channel. We work with burglar alarm dealers, with integrators, with guards, patrol companies, and fire alarm companies. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'd love to keep this conversation going. Feel free to scan this QR code so that we can keep this conversation going. I've been very blessed to speak at many of our industry's biggest events, and I really, once again, put as those of you that have been in my sessions before, you know that I bring as much energy as possible. And one thing that's really helpful is in the chat, any of your feedback. And we will only have this time. We only have 2 poll questions. So if I can ask each of you to engage with those, I would greatly appreciate that as well. Okay. A couple of quick things, and then we'll get started with things. Is first of all, a big thanks to Isabel, and by the way, to my entire team. A big thanks to my entire team. But I will say, most of you are very kind to Isabella when she reaches out to you, and I really greatly appreciate that. But Isabel, if you'd like to learn more about how we can help, Isabella will reach out to you, and or you can use this QR code to spend some time together, and we can learn more about if there's a potential way for us to directly help you with that of the services that we provide, or if you have any questions about you'd like for us to analyze some of your marketing, give you some feedback and things in that regard. There's not any obligation that's required. Really quickly, just with our 2 sponsors, then we're going to get poll questions, and then we'll walk it through that of the meat of today's discussion. I'd like to give a big thanks to that of our 2 premier sponsors, and that's Recognize, and we'll talk about NAPCO here in just a moment. But first of all, I would imagine, and I'm not going to ask for a poll of hands, because I would imagine it's going to be 99 to 100% of us that are dealing with residential and or commercial end user customers. And with that said, most of us are going to be doing, of course, in one way, shape, or form, video surveillance. And for those of us that have end users that have needs in terms of outdoor security, Recognize is a great ecosystem or a platform that has a number of solutions that can really help, and it's AI based. It does not require connectivity, doesn't require wires. It can be outdoor, it can be remote, things in that regard. So what I will say is, if you're not familiar with Recognize, and you do, and as you reach out to them, if you let them know that David and the team at SD Marketing sent you, we would greatly appreciate that. And Team Recognize, we really appreciate that of your continued partnership and helping us to get the good news out about all the marketing things we discuss in each of our webinars. And to that of NAPCO, our good friends at NAPCO, a big thanks to NAPCO. So I would imagine, once again, most of us are very familiar with NAPCO, and if you aren't, NAPCO's been around for a number of years, and once again, for those of us that are in fire or security, NAPCO is an end-to-end solution that we can literally power our entire security company on NAPCO in terms of from the hardware, a lot of the services and things in that regard. What I will say is, as you reach out to NAPCO, once again, if you let them know that that your good friends at SD Marketing sent you, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much, NAPCO. Cheers to 55 years of all the great things that you've done. And as far as I'm concerned, cheers to the next 55. So a big thanks once again to that of Recognize and NAPCO for sponsoring that of today's webinar. What I will ask, and we literally, as I mentioned, we just have 2 quick questions here. So if I can ask each of you to get your phones out. By the way, it's okay for you to get your phone out for this. We have 2 quick poll questions. And the first one is, which platforms are you currently using for your security business? And we're referring to obviously LSA and Google Ads PPC. Is it neither, just researching? Is it local service ads? Is it both platforms? Is it that of Google Ads PPC only, LSA only, or is it I just tried one but stopped using it? So I'll just give this just another moment or so. And once again, I really appreciate each of you answering this honestly in terms of which platform or platforms or none of them at the moment, or you've tried and you've stopped. And I say this as you're answering this honestly, I'd like for you to take a look at how are others answering this? How are others answering this so that you can see how you compare with that of your peers throughout the industry? So keep this up for another 3, 4, 5 seconds. So I see here, I'm really actually glad to hear that most of us are both platforms, and then PPC, okay, and then research. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then just really quickly, that of the next poll is, okay, what's your biggest Google advertising challenge in 2025? Is it competing with some of the nationals? Is it the high cost per click / lead? Is it new platform requirements? Is it that of the tracking ROI and performance, or is it platform confusion? Which to know when? So I'll give everyone just a moment here to answer this. But if you wouldn't mind answering this honestly and see how others, see as to how others are answering this, that would be great. And then we'll give this just another few moments or so. Interesting. Okay, so platform confusion, which no? Well, the good news is that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. And then competing with the nationals, it's interesting. That is, we can definitely relate in terms of the ads that we manage for that of our customers, because a lot of the nationals and a lot of the super regionals and competitors are bidding things up. So, okay, awesome. Let me stop sharing. Then I'm going to reshare that of these slides. Thank you very much while I'm going back and forth. I appreciate everyone being very engaging with this. Thank you so much. So in terms of what it is that we're going to be covering today, we're going to be discussing the differences, ironically, just what we just talked about, the differences between that of Google Ads and LSA or Google Guaranteed. We'll talk about how to set things up in an optimized fashion for that of our industry. We're going to discuss some advanced strategies that are helping to manage your spend as well as maximize your ROI, which is your return on investment. And then we're going to be talking about gaining insights into the effective keyword strategies and ad grid structures, how to leverage to boost your visibility, understanding some of the KPIs for success. And at the end, and I'd really, by the way, we have 2 free checklists. So a little tease for those of us at the end, we'll have QR codes for 2 free checklists on helping that's a lot deeper in terms of what we're going to be able to cover today and things in that regard. So we'll have 2 different checklists in terms of the differences, as well as an implementation guidebook as well. So with that said, once again, if anyone has any questions throughout this session, please interject it into the chat. I'll do my best to keep up with this. Also, there's the Q&A function as well with the chat. As a reminder, if you are sending it to host and panelists, I'll do the best I can not to reference you by name. And if you click everyone, then that means everyone, then I'll reference you by name. Okay, so before I get into this deep dive, there have been some critical changes in terms of the platform changes. And I wanted to just start off with some very interesting, and especially for those of us that are running ads on either or both and, these are some things that are really important. So first of all, when we talk about local service ad updates, and towards the end of last year, Google made it mandatory for that of us to integrate that of our Google business profile. And by the way, that's once again, when you're on a Google service results page, which I'll show you one in just a moment, in the map section, that is your Google business profile. Once again, I know we're not talking about that today, but if you do not have your Google business profile claimed and optimized, that is one of the most key and critical things that you want to get done. I know that's not what we're talking about today, but that's something that's really, really important. And these things need to be integrated. If it's not integrated, by the way, for those of us that are running LSAs, you'll know that you had to have this integrated as of Q4 of last year. Also, there used to be a mobile app for that of the LSAs. And once again, this is more for those of us that are running this presently. That has been discontinued as of Q1 of this year, and it's all web-based. So one of the big things is from the review management perspective, all of the review requests now are going through that of the Google Business Profile. And a lot of this is done to streamline things so that we're not going into disparate into multiple platforms and things in that regard. Also, and especially this is really important for our industry because obviously, when we take into consideration like the alarm dealers and that of the integrators that we're working with, as an example, you'll know that there are residential categories, and then there are going to be that of the commercial subcategories and things in that regard. And we want to be very particular. So now there are a number of other categories and things in that regard. From the Google Ads PPC update, there's a couple here. So the AI bidding, the enhanced CPC or the eCPC is in the process of being discontinued. Also, there is a priority on that of smart bidding. So Google's prioritizing automated bidding strategies as opposed to doing things in a manual base, and also performance max. Now, some of these things may or may not be, some of these may be a little more meaningful to those of us that are actually running that of Google Ads PPC. We're going to take a step back here, team, in just a moment. But keep in mind from the performance max perspective, there's better asset performance reporting and insights. So let's once again take a quick step back here in terms of, okay. So question, it's a good question from and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. It's Emily. What is PPC? So PPC stands, so Google Ads PPC is Google Ads pay per click. So when we, and I'll show a Google Ads, how do I say this? I'll show a Google search engine results page here in just a moment. And at a high level, when you take into consideration one of the big differences between LSA, which is local service ad, aka Google guaranteed, versus Google Ads PPC, which is pay per click, these are going to be at the top of the Google search engine results page. The LSA will be on top. And when you engage with that, when you receive a lead from that, you're paying per lead, as opposed to PPC, you're paying per click. So you're not paying to show up there. You're only paying in the Google Ads, which is bidding per keyword. We're going to do a big deep dive into that in just a moment. You're only paying when someone not only does a search for you within your service area, and then they're evaluating through the results, but when they click through to that, that's when there's that pay per click or that cost per click. So when we take into consideration here, and I'm going to actually just skip through a couple of these things. I probably should have skipped through here to show you this. So by the way, being that the way that the screens are work, I'm dissecting that of the actual Google search engine results page. So when you do this search, this is what's on top. And then directly below that is this map section, if that makes sense. So just once again, imagine this. We basically cut the search engine results page in half. And as an example, when you take, so this is as of the last couple of years, and I suspect that we're in the lion's share. So we historically, local service ads have only been around for our industry for the last year and a half, couple of years, give or take. And I may be off by a couple of months or what have you. And they did not deploy across all of the geographic locations. So it's possible that in your service area, it's not there, but in most of the service areas, I now see that of local service ads. Once again, when we do a search in this particular case, and I know this may be a little small, so I'm going to read a few of these things aloud. Los Angeles Home Security Systems, right? This is someone that is doing a 5-word search. And if you take into consideration, if you're based in Los Angeles, by the way, many of us are all throughout the country. And there are, as I'm seeing here, there's a couple of individuals that are actually outside of the country that are here as well, from just individuals that I know. Although as I'm scrolling through all of us here, yeah, there are a number of individuals that I am not familiar with, and I appreciate you spending some time with us. But once again, you can, interchange this with that of your city and state as an example. But in this particular case, Los Angeles Home Security Systems, the top two results when we did the search to take the screenshot of this are going to be the local service ads / Google guaranteed. And once again, when you either A, dial this number, B, send a message, or C, engage and fill out a form, you are not paying per click, which is here. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but you are paying per lead. Now, we're going to talk about the differences, so I'm not going to get too deep into this right now, but I just want you to have a visual understanding of this. Whereas once again, PPC or pay-per-click, these have been around since like 2012, 2013, 2014, and don't hold me to that, but it's around 20, actually, I'm sorry, like 22, 23, 24. So they've been around for a number of years. So this is once again, when you do a search and you click, you're paying per click. I'm going to talk, as I mentioned, I'm going to get a lot deeper into these in just a moment. We're not going to spend too much time, but from the SEO perspective, once again, below the PPC ads, you'll have, technically, we did remove the people also ask, which is PAA. People also ask, so these are related questions that Google has identified. Because remember, from Google's perspective, they want for its users to find the results very useful, if that makes sense, and to come back for more, because this is one of the primary areas that Google generates as revenue, which is here within this area. Obviously, Google has a number of other revenue sources. We're not going to talk about that today, but this is one of the major revenue sources for them. Once again, when you're here in the maps section, and I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, obviously you'll see here, this is sponsored, but 1, 2, 3, when you either get directions, go to the website, ultimately click through to get the phone number, dial the phone number, there is no cost per click here. There is no pay-per-click. Obviously, in this section, it's sponsored, so it's basically like a PPC type ad here. And then also we'll see here the PA, or the people also ask. And then you've got the organic or the SEO related listings as well. So if anybody has any questions about this, feel free to interject at any time, but I'm going to keep moving forward. So when we take into consideration, once again, Google Ads, so this is not the LSA, but directly below that, once again, pay per click, which is PPC. It has that of an ad or a sponsored type label. Now, keep in mind, and you're going to see some of the differences between LSA as well as PPC, but these campaigns are highly customizable. And I'm going to do a little deeper dive into this in just a moment. You have one of the things to take into consideration is we have a control over the ad budget. In other words, how much money are we spending over a day or a monthly basis? How much money are we spending, or how much money do we want to bid on an auction basis for each and every unique keyword, or on the ad group level, which we'll talk about that here in just a moment, and also the actual content of the ad. So we're going to talk a little bit deeper into that here in just a moment. One of the new things here is there are, in fact, AI-powered campaign creation and optimization things. Now, the one thing that I will caution you with, because we get calls, and I don't believe we have anyone from Google on right now, and if I do, my apologies in advance. I mean what I'm about to say with all due respect. But we on a daily, okay, I won't say daily, but it is on a weekly basis. I would say we receive 3 to 5 calls, and we receive at least 2 to 3 emails every single week stating that Google ad sales rep wants to help optimize that of the ad campaigns that we have up and running. And with that said, what they want us to do is they want us to spend more money. And there's a number of our customers that we've had these conversations with that are a little more advanced from the Google Ads perspective. We all know that having an optimization score within your Google Ads account isn't necessarily a good thing, because once again, they want us to spend more money. The other thing to take into consideration is there is enhanced automation with some smart bidding strategies. These are definitely some things that you want to take into consideration, but just keep in mind, you don't want to, how do I say this? We don't want to make sure that we're leaving everything to them. And the other things are, there are certain checkboxes, because like as an example, there was an individual that reached out, and I think as they submitted, my memory serves me correct because I don't have this information right in front of me, but as they submitted as they RSVP for today's webinar, and I hope that I don't butcher this. I don't remember exactly who this was, but I do remember, I do remember this coming through. Is they stated that they're getting a lot of leads that are coming from their competitors, asking for their competitors, or let's just say like an ADT or a Vivint customer service phone number. And as I was having this conversation with, ironically, with Isabella, I was just sharing with her, a couple of weeks back about how these are things that we have learned over the years. And there are multiple different bidding types in terms of, the broad match, phrase match, and then the exact match. And by the way, exact match in many cases is not 100% exact. Keep in mind the match type that you're selecting can negatively impact you. We're going to talk about it here in just a moment. But the key here is we want to make sure that you're adding those negative keywords to that so that you're not showing up for that if someone that's doing a bid for like an ADT as an example, or any of your direct competitors, because you don't want to be paying for someone, because these things can be very expensive on a per click basis, and you can really quickly eat through that of your budget. And what you do want to do is you want to be showing up for the types of searches like what I just used as an example. So at a high level, when we take a look at LSAs, as I talked about, is pay per lead. It is at the top of the results. There is that Google guaranteed badge. There's a simplified setup and management. Now, keep in mind, dependent upon our industry, and in our industry, I have seen things in the neighborhood of anywhere from, as low as $80 per lead to as high as nearly $200 per lead. And this is dependent upon whether we're resi, whether we're commercial, how many other competitors there are in the space. And I think if I didn't share this, like geographically where you're based, these are all factors, what your overall budget is, the number of reviews, how you engage with others, how long you've been around. I mean, there's a lot of these other key factors that determine as to what's the pricing in terms of what the bidding that you need to be at, so that you're showing up on page one. The one challenge is that we're limited to that of the specific categories of things that we do, and we're not able to dictate the specific keywords and phrases that we're showing up for, just as an FYI. So in terms of some of the benefits, obviously we can really look to build our brand, and we can get in front of customers at the exact moment that they're searching for us, and we control that specific service area. Also, we can customize things, because keep in mind, remember, what is important, like we need to be speaking, let's just say, for example, we're a full service security company. In other words, we work with a resident, end user, SMB, and the light commercial as an example. It goes without saying, so I don't mean to be Captain Obvious here, but like it goes without saying, but the way that we speak to that of a resi end user versus that of commercial end user is very, very different. And it's really important to make sure that, from the ads perspective, we would not want to have that same type of ad and things in that regard. But there are, in fact, opportunities to retarget. So users that are, in fact, not converting off of that initial raw visit, we can capture that audience and retarget to them. And also, there is detailed performance data and analytics. And what we mean by that is we know, we know with certainty a lot of those KPIs in terms of how many, what specific keywords were actually searched for within the keyword search report. What were the actual click-through rates? What is the actual, which keywords are converting? How are they converting? Are they converting by phone? Are they converting by form submission? And the list goes on and on, things in that regard. Whereas when we take into consideration from the LSA perspective, it's literally prime real estate. It's all the way at the top. And that Google guaranteed badge builds trust. It's very, there's more of a simplified lead management. And just so you know, within Google, for those of us that don't have, that haven't experienced that of the LSAs as an example, keep in mind all these things are the case. And the other thing is the reviews themselves are definitely integrated into that of the actual ad. Let's just talk about a little matrix here in terms of some of the key differences between that of PPC versus that of And by the way, apologies, my mistake for not catching this earlier. This is PPL or pay per lead as opposed to this is PPC. But if you take into consideration like the LSA, once again, the main difference is that it just at a glance, if you want to take a screenshot, and by the way, we are recording this, so I'll make sure we send that of a replay here. But the ad placement, once again, is at the top, as well as in the Google Maps. And then also the PPC is going to be in the main results. Now, obviously, we talked about the pricing models per lead versus per click. From the targeting perspective, it's broader, but location specific. What I mean by that is, once again, we cannot target by keyword, whereas we can get incredibly granular. I'll give you an example here. So with Google Ads pay-per-click, if we wanted to just bid for one, literally just for one, and I'm not insinuating this is something that we should do, but if we wanted to, we could bid under one particular phrase. Let's just say, for example, we are an integrator and we lead with access control. Let's say we literally only want it on an exact match basis. We would not want to, and those of you that have had conversations with me, you'll know what I'm about to share. It's like, if we were to say, a search for access control, I think that all of us here would agree that would, if we're providing access control, we would all agree that that is a phrase that would make sense that we want to bid under. Now, we, on the other hand, would say that's too general. We would not recommend to bid under the phrase access control. And the reason being is, as you go to Google and you do that search, once you get to the organic results and the people also ask, Google's going to think that we are wanting to research access control, because the first few results are blogs, are topical authority blogs that are discussing what is access control. Now, let's get into the mindset of a different user that does a search for access control company near me. And let's say we set things up to have the zip code where we're based, and we want a 5-mile radius. So that within that 5-mile radius, that is the only geographic location as to where our ads would be showing up. And this is like a prime example, like literally we can target down to the zip code in terms of things in that regard, as well as say, I only want to show up for this one keyword. And you can basically, you can change your bid strategy throughout the day. And I'm not insinuating you would want to do that, but you have that level of granularity. In terms of the ad content, from the LSA's perspective, it's more on a standardized basis, more templatized. Whereas from the PPC, there are a lot of what's referred to as ad extensions that could include that of your map, that can include phone number, that can include reviews, that can include a number, website-rich snippets. And for those of you that don't know what that is, these are going to be like showcasing different sections of your website as an example, and the list goes on and on. In terms of the qualification, first of all, Google Ads pay-per-click, as long as you're an actual business that has a credit card that works and a website, that has SSL and all these other good things, you are basically eligible to participate in Google Ads pay-per-click. Whereas from the local service ad perspective, it requires a specialized screening. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit more in terms of the setup for that. From the management perspective, it's very simplified for the LSAs. It is, of course, web only, and this is as of earlier this year. And when I say simplified, Google has in its ad platform, has a simplified CRM. So you have a list of all of the leads that have come in. And by the way, phone calls that come in, just as a FYI, those get recorded. And what is really, really important is you have to treat it like a CRM to matriculate the leads. So like, for example, if a lead came in and they were asking for, let's just say, I want you to help fix my, or fix my garage door, or, fix my HVAC as an example, obviously that would not be a valid lead. And this is where we need to disposition that as like not a valid lead, so you can get credit for that. Obviously, you don't want to be paying for that of non-valid leads. It is really important, though, as you are going through the process, to ultimately disposition them to, like the not interested, or ultimately as they become a customer. And remember, over time, Google rewards us for that by, number one, showing us more often, and over time puts us in a position, especially when we have great reviews from that of our customers, they will reward us. Because I will say this, by the way, for both PPC and for LSA, you are not showing up number one in the results in your respective category based on what your bid is. There are a number of other factors in terms of the algorithm. And when I say algorithm, I'm talking about the recipe in terms of how you show up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously, in LSA, it's only a couple, a couple, 2 or 3. And with PPC, it's up to 4, but within all the various sections in terms of how you show up. So once again, now keep in mind the Google Ads pay-per-click, it is much more complex. It is very complex, and you can get yourself in big trouble. It is flexible, and there are ways to simplify things. But what I will say is, for those of us that are managing PPC campaigns and that have been doing them for a time and doing them well and generating a positive ROI, we know that there's a lot of different selects. Like as an example, you do not want to include, we have not seen a lot of great experience in terms of adding that of the extended search network outside of google.com. As an example, there are many, many other things, but just these things to keep in mind in terms of some of the key differences. So let's talk about just some of the basic ad setups. So we want to make sure that we are creating separate campaigns for different services locations. I'm going to talk about why in just a moment. And within that of the campaigns, we have various ad groups that organize related keywords. In terms of the right campaign type, there are obviously search, there are display, and there are video type campaigns. Obviously, we have google.com versus Google's display network, which is basically, don't hold me, I don't mean in a literal sense, but it's virtually the entire internet besides Google and the search platforms and social media. It's not literally, but there are millions of websites that are part of Google's display. And then obviously video is going to be YouTube. In terms of setting up conversion tracking, remember, we always want to end with the begin. We want to begin with the end in mind. And keep in mind, there's a gentleman by the name of Henry Wanamaker. I don't remember off the top of my head if it was in the 1800s or the late 1800s or the beginning of the 1900s. And he shared, and he's known for being the godfather of advertising, specifically with a newspaper. And, he has shared half of my advertising works. The problem is I don't know which half. Now, gone are those days. It's really important to make sure that you have the tracking pixel from Google on throughout your entire website. And this is, by the way, outside of your Google Analytics, your Google Search Console. Those are important for ads as well. The console is, Analytics is good for both ads and for that of SEO, but the Google Search Console will be very helpful from the SEO standpoint. I know we're not talking about that today, but those are really, really important. If you don't have, if you're running ads, you don't have the ad pixel on your site, please make sure you get that done today. It's really important to give you a lot more insights, things in that regard. And then what you want to do is you want to define that of conversion actions. And these are obviously, these are obvious ones in terms of form submissions or phone calls. You can also even track things like dwell time, or bounce rate as an example. And what I mean by a bounce rate is what's the percentage of users that come to a site, whether it's through ads or coming direct or through SEO. What is the percentage of users that are coming to the site and leaving without that of engaging with that of our, with other pages of the site. And then whereas it's appropriate, you want to make sure you're setting up call tracking. Some of the advanced strategies, and I use the example of access control company near me, but like security camera installation near me, commercial security system pricing. The big things here is we want to focus on transactional and commercial keywords. And these are what's referred to as long tail type keywords, meaning these are words that are like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus keyword phrases, because the more specific, now, by the way, I know this is going to sound counterintuitive. We have data to support this, but in many cases, and don't take me literally because some jurisdictions are a little different, but in some cases, the phrase access control is more expensive than access control company in Los Angeles, California. As silly as that sounds. Now, don't take that literal example because in your jurisdiction, that may not be the case. But in many cases, where I'm going with this is not as many individuals know, like what we're talking about today, about investing the time to know what are these, we refer to them internally as these low-hanging fruit keywords. These are buying keywords. These are keywords and phrases that you want to show up for. Now, keep in mind, these types of phrases are going to be searched a lot less than some of the other, like the access control or security companies as an example. But the other thing is, if this is something that's new for you, I would recommend for you to focus on the exact match phrases. Because if you do broad and you do a search, and let's just say you're bidding under the phrase security companies, as an example, you potentially could show up for ADT customer service phone number, or your competitor address, as an example. And obviously you would not want to be spending you would not want to be spending your precious marketing dollars on that. Now, if you are in fact doing like a phrase match, or even honestly, even on the exact match, you want to ultimately develop a negative keyword list. So when you go into that of your Google Ads campaign and you click in the section in the actual ad group that shows you the actual keyword lists, or the keywords that are actually typed in that you're showing up for, as you identify any of those keywords and phrases that are not target phrases and keywords, you can add those as negative, and those are going to be a particular bracket. If anybody has any follow-ups in terms of how to do some of these things, we can schedule a follow-up, and I can show you on a one-on-one basis exactly how to do all these things. But you want to make sure that you have that negative keyword list. It's really, really important. In terms of the actual ad group structure, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, and it goes without saying, do not ever, whether it's for home security related keywords or home automation or fire alarm system type keywords, do not send them to your homepage. Number one. Number two, set up various ad groups for these. Because remember, whether someone's looking for video surveillance or business security or home security or access control, as an example, you're going to have low-hanging fruit keywords, those commercial and transactional keywords that are closely related. And remember, you have a set of keywords that are associated with that of a text-based ads. And you want to make sure that the keywords are closely related to those ads, because it's really important to make sure that you've got a high click-through rate, because that's one of the factors in what's referred to as the quality score. And the quality score is a factor that Google helps. That is what is used and dictates as to who shows up in the Google Ads pay-per-click. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth. But make sure, and also the third part of this equation is having that of a landing page, so that like we have home security based keywords that are associated with home security based text-based ads that are associated with your home security system's landing page in your website. You want to follow that trifecta in that particular order and make sure you have things set up accordingly to this. Each of these groups, once again, as we just talked about, should have these three. If you want to take a quick snapshot of that, the related keywords, copy that's specifically geared towards that, and that of the specific landing pages that is geared towards that. In terms of when you create, to create some effective copy, you want to make sure that that main keyword or phrase is ideally in that headline, or parts of that, or what's most important, are in the actual headline. You want to make sure that you are focusing on some unique selling points. Like, by the way, one of the things that we've identified is referencing the fact that you're local. Now, obviously, we have a couple of groups here that are national, and that would obviously be a little different. But these are a couple of other examples of whether, if in fact you offer free installation. Obviously, we all are offering 24/7 monitoring, things in that regard. But the local is also something that we have seen that has really made some improvements. You want to make sure that there's a clear call to action. Direct them to what to do, to click, things in that regard. We want to make sure that we're leveraged, as I was talking about earlier. You want to leverage that of the various extensions. Could be call outs or site links or some of the structured snippets. And once again, the structured snippets are various key components of that of your site. And then we want to split test. Like, we don't want to just have one ad for each ad group. You want to, at the very least, have two, because inevitably you'll have one that is outperforming the other. And that's where we want to make sure that as we have some data, then you want to, Google will automatically, through its AI-based algorithm, will automatically start showing your ads with the various of the A/B test that is working better, if that makes sense. Next is going to be from the landing page perspective. And this is still something, I know we're in the middle of 2025, and I know we're not talking about websites, but these are interrelated. I still to this day see a single landing page for all the residential services, a single landing page for that of all the commercial services. That is not what we want to do. And it's not just for Google Ads PPC. It's really important to have a specific landing page that is geared towards each of the specific services. Because remember, we've got the attention span that's less than that of a goldfish. It's really important to make sure that we have that we are making it easy for that of users to find what they're looking for, if that makes sense. We also want to make sure that the messaging is corresponding with what was on the ad, what's on the text ad. I want to make sure that there's clear value proposition, trust signals. Some examples of that could be perhaps certification, some of the associations you belong to. If you happen to have a guarantee, some of the 5-star reviews, things in that regard, some of the other trust factors, including logos of some of the groups that you work with. That's an example. It goes without saying. But as you know, now that we're in the middle of 2025, we are actually building websites that are actually optimized for mobile devices first, just as an FYI. So if your website is not optimized for mobile, you will be penalized by Google in terms of some of the ads. And then it goes without saying, but you want to make sure that we have clear, prominent call to action buttons, including phone numbers, get started, forms, etc., etc. I talked about this a little earlier briefly, but you want to make sure that you set up location targeting, because it's possible that you would be getting, it goes without saying, but you would not want to be getting leads from outside of your service area. And you can literally target via a number of different ways. You can use zip code, you can use city, you can use a radius, you can use by county or DMA, which is like wherever television or radio would be in your particular market. There's other ways as well. And if you have very modest budgets, you may potentially want to do what's referred as day parting. In other words, you only want to be showing your ads after hours, or you only want to be showing them during certain hours. Or I'm not saying that we would do this, but let's just say everyone's out to lunch from 12 to 1 and no one would be answering phones. We wouldn't recommend this, obviously, but you could do that. And then you also, by the way, are even able to adjust bids for that of mobile devices versus that of desktops. Keep in mind, and that's why I'm saying, remember, Google Ads pay-per-click is a lot more complex, but it can be flexible. And then let's just say, for example, we have I'm just using that like as a 50-mile radius. But within this area of that 50-mile radius, we don't want to be showing up. There, once again, not only can we have negative keywords, but we can have negative service areas as well. Now, in terms of some of the budget optimization perspective, we always, even though we have a lot of years of experience doing this, we always start off conservatively, and then we look to scale or grow within the first 30 to 60 days. As I mentioned earlier, and it's not just initially, focus on that of the high intent, lower cost keywords. And these are, once again, even though there's not as many search queries for those, you want to make sure you're focusing on those low-hanging fruit keywords. And you can adjust bids to prioritize that of some of your top performing keywords. Because remember, as a reminder, one of the things, presuming you have your tracking set up correctly, Google will let us know to the best of its ability which in fact are the keywords and phrases that are driving the conversions. I don't mean to be captain obvious here, but obviously you want to focus on those related keywords and things in that regard. There are in fact automated type things, but it will say, if you're doing this, make sure you're monitoring these very closely with that of modest budgets, if that makes sense. And it also goes without saying, but make sure that you're reviewing that of your campaigns for performance and making adjustments accordingly. I mean, this is really, really important in terms of monitoring that of your particular account. And I'm not saying, by the way, look, if you're spending $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month or more, you probably will want to be monitoring things on a daily basis. If your budget is anywhere from like $500 to $1,500, probably on a weekly basis would be more than suffice. If that makes sense. You don't necessarily have to be monitoring it every single day, because there's not enough traffic that's going to be giving you that type of return that you're looking for in terms of the return on your time, the investment of your time. When we transition towards that of LSA, really quickly, we're going to talk about setup. We'll talk about how to maximize visibility, how to generate and manage reviews, and then the differences between that of LSA and PPC. So in terms of some setup, it is now mandatory that you complete your Google Business Profile, and it has to have accurate information. All of the form fields must be filled out, but it's not just for LSA. Even if you're not doing LSA, please do this today. Critically important. We need to make sure that your LSA in your account, your LSA account, your Google Business Profile is integrated so that so that you can serve ads and things in that regard. Also, you want to make sure that there is a verified and the verification of your business, and there's background checks, uploading licenses, things in that regard. There's an enhanced process, but these things are what are required in order to get that Google guaranteed badge and to show up for that of LSA. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're selecting that of the services. So, like for example, with regards to us, and I'm talking about from the Berg perspective, the integrator perspective, and the fire alarm company perspective, there are ultimately different categories that we would be able to potentially select, and you would select the ones that you would want to focus on. As I mentioned, you would need to upload that of the appropriate licenses, as well as, by the way, insurance docs as well. Set that of your budget and what your bidding preferences are. So when we say budget, what's the overall budget that we're going to be spending, number one, and number two, what is the bid per lead that you're willing to pay for this? And obviously, especially to start when we don't have history, the more the budget, the more the bid will put us in a position to make sure that we're showing up on page one. Also, there's an update review workflow that's handled through that of the Google Business Profile exclusively now. So in terms of maximizing visibility, and I've mentioned this already, but you've got to make sure that you're being responsive in the Google, in the LSA ads platform, and make sure that we're matriculating that of each of the leads that are coming in. Make sure that we have your business hours up to date. If you're not receiving a lot of visibility, you may want to look at expanding your actual geographic area, if possible. Also, as silly as it sounds, sometimes even increasing your budget, even though you're not receiving leads, some things like that actually help. By the way, especially during peak seasons, make sure that the job types are accurately listed within your Google Business Profile. Those things are critically important, as well as within your ad. And this is critically important. To the higher your job rate completion rate and your reviews are, this is once again where Google will reward us by showing us more often. And it's not necessarily us because we're bidding more, like others, things in that regard. From the review perspective, I know we're running a little short on time, but it is really, really important to make sure that we are maintaining reviews, not just in our traditional Google Business Profile, but in terms of each and every single customer or prospective customer that comes through. So when there's a job completion, you've got to have that of a systematic approach to make sure that you're capturing that review. This is critically important to make sure that you're maximizing your opportunities with that of LSAs. In terms of some of the difference, and we kind of discussed this, so I'm going to actually skip through these next two slides, because we did discuss this in terms of some of the differences. You can take a look at this or screenshot this or watch this on the replay. Some of the synergies is LSAs can be set up very, very quickly. I mean, technically Google Ads PPC can be set up very quickly as well. But I would, if you're doing both, you can set the LSAs up first so that while you're building PPC campaigns, your LSAs can go through that validation verification process, launch while you're setting up that of your PPC campaigns. Some of the things is, keep in mind, there may be some keyword phrases that are primary phrases that you would want to be showing up for in Google, but you're not showing up in LSA just because they're not eligible for LSA. Well, this is an opportunity where you can bid under those phrases for the Google Ads PPC. Let's see here. There's a question a couple minutes ago from John. Okay, for LSA, what does optimizing your bids to ensure you show up on page one look like? Okay, so John, that's a good question. What is, I'm going to repeat that just so everybody hears that. What does optimizing your bids to ensure you show up on page look like? So I'm not insinuating, John, that when you're in the platform, then you're updating your bids every single day, because what that does is that updates that of Google's algorithm in terms of how it's showing up for. What I will say is, let's just say as an example, you are showing up for home security and commercial security and video surveillance as an example. These are the categories that you're selecting. First of all, there are specific keywords that would be eligible for you to show up for in the geography that you select. In terms of optimizing your bids, let's say that we start off with each of those three categories, I'm using as an example, at $80. And let's say for one of the three categories you're showing up for on occasion, but the other two you're not showing up at all. One of the things that we would do is we would look to update that of how big is our geography. How much search is actually showing up in that geography. Like, first of all, we potentially would expand the geography, number one. Number two, we would update that of the bid perhaps to $85 or to $90 or to $100 and see as to where we are. One of the other things that could be done as well is to update that of the overall budget. So I wouldn't recommend to do all three at one time. What I would recommend is if your service area is too small, I would expand that, number one. Wait a day or two. Number two is I would expand what your bid per, I would see as to what your bid per lead would be. And then number three is I would do that of the overall budget as well. Hopefully, John, that helps and makes a little more sense in terms of that. But if you would like for me to expand on something else, you can, in the chat, expand upon that question, and I can get back to that in just a moment. But thank you for the question. Appreciate that, John. Let's see here. As you have insights from that of LSA, these are things, by the way, that you can help to update that of your Google Ads pay-per-click strategy as well. And by the way, when you're, here's the thing. Remember, I'm not going to go all the way back, but we talked about on the Google search results page now in our industry, we have LSA, we have that of PPC, we have maps, and then we have organic. Ideally, and I know we're not talking about everything today, but ideally, we're showing up on page one in all four sections. And look, we all know this, but many of the users think, well, wait a minute, if Google's showing them in multiple locations, this must be a credible group. Let me in one way, shape, or form engage with this group. So that's like that, I won't say, what is it? Trifecta, quadfecta? Okay, I don't know how you say that, but I think you all know what I mean. We ideally want to show up in all that. And it's more of a force multiplier. Because also, by the way, that's also taking away potential leads from your competitors as well. Okay, so let me just really quickly keep moving forward. In terms of ROI performance metrics, and I'm going to zip through a few of these things here. I did talk about quality score. The big thing is, as you do things in the way that I shared so that you have a higher click-through rate because you have specific keywords, you have ads that are specifically geared towards that. You've got the landing page where we're not just leaving. We have ultimately conversions that are occurring. You have a respectable bid. This helps you to have that of a higher quality score from basically 0 or 1 to 10. You want to make sure that we have CTRs or click-through rates that are at least 2 to 5%, but ideally in double digits. Conversion rates, at the very least, we want to make sure that we're in the 10% conversion rate, but ideally we should be in the 20 to 30% conversion rate. Keep in mind the cost per click is, generally speaking, is anywhere from $2 to $50 plus. And we want to make sure that we're generating a positive ROI. And what we typically will see, and in some cases it's a little more, but you should be aiming for that of cost per lead anywhere in the $50 to $200 range, depending on the service. And I mean, obviously, resi versus commercial as an example. Some of the KPIs from PPC perspective, you want to make sure that you're constantly reviewing search terms report, optimizing for mobile. I'm going to just skip through a couple of these things that I haven't really covered. If you want to get a little deeper into this, you can adjust bids based on the device, location, and time of day. That's getting into more, call it 102, 103, but there's those capabilities as well. Couple of things as we're wrapping things up here over the next couple of minutes. I'm going to keep this up for another 30 seconds or so, but we have a Google Ads checklist for that of our industry. If you want to use this QR code to scan that, there's no gates. You don't have to fill in your information. Appreciate you all sticking with me for this. And then I'm going to click through in 3, 2, 1. We have more of an in-depth LSA versus PPC comparison guide. You want to scan this QR code and keep this up for another 5, 10 seconds. Want to give a big thanks to each and every single one of you. And as we are wrapping up, our next talk is going to take place on August 19th from 10 to 11 Pacific time. And we're going to do a deep dive from local to leader. So the next level Google Business Profile Mastery. So I would love for you to RSVP right now so that it's top of mind. Once again, a big thanks to each and every single one of you. A big thanks to Recognize and NAPCO for sponsoring today's webinar. And believe it or not, I think this is a first. I'm actually on time. As we're wrapping up, oh, thank you, Louis. I really appreciate that kind feedback. Maybe for a minute or two, if anyone has any specific questions, thank you, Emily. Appreciate that. And once again, I really appreciate everyone spending time with us today. If there's anyone that has any questions, we'll keep this up for another minute or so. Otherwise, we'll get things wrapped up. Rod, thank you so much. Appreciate you and your team. I really appreciate. There's a few individuals that have sent me some private notes here so thank you. This is very, very kind. I really appreciate everyone's feedback. Why don't we go ahead and wrap everything up? Okay, Rob, you said everyone, so thank you, Rob. I really appreciate this feedback. It's, we work really hard, and honestly, these things we could do 4 to 6 hours in terms to really do a deep dive. We'll really try and maximize because your time is very valuable. So your feedback, even if it's constructive, we are not doing these for us. We're doing this for you. Our mission is to bring awareness to marketing and its significance and its importance. Obviously, we're always looking for our next new customer, but even if we are not to do business together, we want to make sure that we're maximizing the value of this. This industry has given so much to us, and we are incredibly appreciative of that. So, as we wrap up, thank you once again, everyone. Appreciate everyone's time. And until next time, make it a great day.